Back on a Young Turks. Random note before we move on. I'm so jonesing for football that I've begun to have Doritos cravings. I've told you this before, for people who've been watching a long time. For some crazy reason, I associate Doritos with football season. So as we get closer and closer, I'm like, Doritos. I don't know what it is. And I actually don't love college football that much. I mean, I like it, but I'm not like JR, who's still living in the glory days and is obsessed with USC, yada, 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 right? But for some reason, I can't wait for Michigan Notre Dame. That's the game that I watch every year. And to me, that means like football, America, Doritos. Okay, random. Now we move forward. Oh, by the way, Axelrod was on This Week with Jake Tapper, and he was challenged on whether the Obama administration is doing enough for his base and for liberals. A very fair point. The guy who apparently asked that question was Michael Moore. Jake Tapper delivered that question to Axelrod. He had a funny answer. Let's watch.
Progressive filmmaker Michael Moore had this question that he wanted me to ask you. Quote, are you aware of how profoundly disappointed so many of the president's supporters are? Do you realize that each time the president moves to the right, he picks up no votes and loses many? Or do you cynically believe that because these people have nowhere else to go, they'll end up voting for Obama?
Well, first of all, no one is cynically moving one way or the other. The president's not interested in moving left or right. He's interested in moving the country forward. And we've got a very, very sharp debate here.
Didn't even answer the question. Okay, and then he went on and just started talking about the Republicans. No one is moving left or right, and it's not cynical at all. We're just trying to do the right thing. Hey, answer the question. Do you get that the result has been that we have moved to the right? And do you understand why people might be disappointed? And are you just, no, I love that they asked Michael Moore's question. The answer was, of course, as always, disappointing because there is no good answer. All right, now we move forward to the Republicans. All of a sudden, here comes Rick Perry. I knew he was going to do well, and I said that he'd be among the top three, no question. I'm still a little surprised by how well he's doing right out of the gate. First, Public Policy Polling has a poll out that has him at 22% and in #1 position. Mitt Romney is at 19% and Michelle Bachmann is at 18%. But look, sometimes Triple P, I should say, I don't know if they're referred to as that, but they are Triple P. Sometimes they're polling, I look at it and I go, really? I'm not so sure, even though they're a liberal group, and so I should love their polling, but sometimes I feel like it's a little out of whack, right? So I saw that and I was a little skeptical. Well, I was wrong. Gallup poll out even worse for Mitt Romney, even better for Rick Perry. 29% of Republicans saying that they are supporting Rick Perry, only 17% for Mitt Romney. Double-digit lead, 12 points. Ron Paul's coming in strong at third at 13%, and Michelle Bachmann's only at 10%, and the others are irrelevant. By the way, where's Newt Gingrich? Anybody know where Newt Gingrich is? Oh, I know, of course, he's at Tiffany's. Anyway, Rick Perry. Man, that is significant. So Mitt Romney's got to be looking around going, what happened to all my supporters? What happened to the Mittens? Did they run for the hills? That's because Mitt Romney doesn't have a great base of support within the Republican Party. A lot of people were supporting him because they're like, I don't know, he's a front runner. Who else are we going to go with, right? But I don't know if it'll last for Rick Perry because the guy's nuts. But this obviously has got to scare the bejesus out of Mitt Romney, and it should scare the bejesus out of all of us, because if Rick Perry becomes president, we're in a world of trouble. Now, here are some reasons why. First of all, in his book, here we go again, he says that the 16th Amendment should be thrown out. That's the income tax. Instead, we should go with a national sales tax. That is massively regressive. First of all, really get rid of the income tax? Okay, it's crazy. It's so crazy they're now walking it back. His spokesperson's like, well, you know, just like they did with Social Security and Medicare being unconstitutional. That was also in his book. They're like, well, that book was not really for 2012. That was looking backward, not looking forward. 16th Amendment, well, that seems a little ambitious to get rid of it, but we are in favor of some sort of fair tax, yada, yada, yada. Come on, we wrote that book all the way back 9 months ago. Okay, so at least they're backpedaling from it, but If you did a so-called fair tax, which is totally Orwellian because it's the most unfair tax, what it does is it takes a huge chunk of the income of the poor and the middle class, because when you go to buy your food, et cetera, that's a big part of your income. For the rich, it's a tiny percentage of their income. Oh, they're like, oh, I have to pay a sales tax on my groceries? That's a little larger? Meanwhile, they've got all their money, that they're making from the stock market investments, financial investments, et cetera, that wouldn't get taxed at all. Oh, it's a dream come true for millionaires and billionaires. That's why they want Rick Perry. That's why Rick Perry gets funded at a very good rate, as does Mitt Romney, who's at least a little bit more subtle about it. JR, did you want to say something? Oh, no, I thought you grabbed the mic. Okay. We got the 16th Amendment. We got the Constitution. Now, before we do anything else, I want to do John Huntsman. I've been dying to do him all week. So he's trying to get into this race. Now, in the beginning of the week, the way Huntsman went after the other Republicans was, first, he's basically saying, I'm the moderate, and I'm going to go after Michelle Bachmann and Rick Perry and say that they're not living in the real world. In the middle of the week, he amended that partly to say that if Michelle Bachmann won the candidacy, he would be her vice president, which is really weak sauce. But I think he was off message there. Not I think, I know, because right afterwards he was like, well, I mean, of course I'm trying to win the presidency and blah, 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 blah. Okay, but you just said she's totally unqualified to be president. Saying you'd be her vice president is terrible messaging. Anyway, now he's decided he's going to go after Obama. So let's watch clip number 9.
1, we need tax reform. You can't have the second highest business tax in the developed world and expect to compete. I want to do what we did in Utah. You phase out the deductions and the loopholes and the biases, and you buy down the rate and you broaden the base. It's not a difficult thing to do. 2, we've got to get the regulatory monkey off our back. There's no predictability in the marketplace. Capital isn't flowing, and people aren't being hired because of the red tape and regulatory measures. 3, energy independence. It's the lowest of low-hanging fruit. T. Boone Pickens says 500,000 jobs over 5 years, and I believe it. Those are the 3 steps that I believe would be the most powerful immediately in getting this country going again.
Now, the only positive sign of that is that energy independence, when he quotes T. Boone Pickens, he's partly talking about green energy and a new way of getting energy. That's good. That's what makes him a so-called moderate within the Republican Party. But 98% of the other stuff is just absolute Republican, right-wing, red meat, lower taxes on the rich, take away loopholes for a couple of years until we reinsert them. Get rid of the regulations, because what, the banks are overregulated? Please, that's just stupid. And energy independence, of course, also means in the Republican world, drill, baby, drill. So there's your so-called moderate Republican. We're enjoying that. So let's watch a little bit more.
Why should they choose you over Mitt Romney? How about first in job creation versus 47th? How about a free market approach to health care reform as opposed to a heavy-handed Obama-like mandate? How about experience overseas in a time of great uncertainty and trouble? Intimate knowledge of our most significant economic relationship and most significant strategic challenge. I think these are all reasons that will, in the minds of voters, be differentiators, and they should be differentiators.
All right, now why am I even playing you these clips, right? Because John Huntsman is getting like 3.5 votes, and he's nowhere near the top, and it doesn't look like he's going to make it into the top. Because finally, we have a guy running for president. Before, he would come out and say absolutely nothing. Now, he's actually making a case. He's saying, wait a minute, here's the reasons why Bachmann and Perry are unelectable, right? That's what he did in the beginning of the week. Now he's coming out and hitting Romney. That's a real candidate, saying, hey, look, I was #1 in job creation. He was number 47. By the way, he should be even stronger on that. Now, his claim to be #1 in job creation, you could, no question, you could dive into that and find the questionable parts of that, right? Having said that, if you can, as a politician, if you can make any kind of case for it, you should be pounding your chest saying, #1, #1, #1, I'm #1. He should pull an Alvin Green. Jim DeMint started the recession. Jim DeMint started the recession. No matter what question he gets asked, he should say, I'm #1 in job creation. That actually gets you on the board. That gets people talking about you until they go, okay, I got it, dude. You were #1 in job creation. Just let's go on to something else. That's a win. That's how you do it, right? And for him to come out and, give Romney the back of his hand there and say, that dude was number 47, I was #1, there we go. Now that's a little bit of strength. That's a real candidate. So, since he's doing so much better in messaging, I believe he's going to start moving up the board. When he does, he could finish all the way at 5th. So then you think, again, why are you telling me this, Chang? Because this isn't about 2012. You're looking at a really serious candidate for the Republicans in 2016. Okay, if he moves up that board, even if he finishes 5th, people in 2016 will say, well, remember how Huntsman moved up the board, and he did it by 1, being aggressive, and 2, being the moderate Republican, at least within the context of that Republican race filled with people who were so massively right-wing. That's the right strategy. One more from Huntsman.
I believe in civil unions. I think we can do a better job in this country as it relates to equality and basic reciprocal beneficiary rights. I'm in favor of traditional marriage. I don't think you can redefine it without getting in trouble. But I think along with that, we can have civil unions. I think this country has arrived at a point in time where we can show a little more equality and respect. Leave it to the states. I think it's a state issue that ought to be driven by discussions in various states. And you've got the Defense of Marriage Act that basically is a safeguard that allows that to happen.
So that's his claim to fame on being moderate, that he doesn't hate gays, which, hey, you know what? For a Republican, not bad. Okay. He's like 7% towards sanity. It's got 2016 written all over him. Because my guess is by 2016, the right wing of the Republican Party will have totally and utterly imploded. And I know it sounds crazy now. And we'll see if the show's around in 2016 for me to play this tape back to you and see and do one of my famous "I told you so's." But at that point, I think after the Republican Party destroys itself, they're going to have to turn in another direction. And when they do, I think Huntsman at that point will be sitting in a much better position. So we'll see how that plays out. Now, 2 other final things for you. The current Republican ideology is not going well. And they find it very hard to defend. And Representative Hultgren was asked by his constituents about tax cuts. Hey, what did they ever do for the economy? I love how stumped he gets here. Let's go to clip 4.
When the Bush tax cuts took effect in 2003, the unemployment rate was 6.2%. Now, in the 9th year of those cuts, the unemployment is 9.1%. So where's the evidence that these tax cuts for the most affluent actually create jobs? For these cuts to be given to the very rich in the U.S., the U.S. has to borrow money, and we, the taxpayers, have to pay it back with interest.
So that's a great question, right? I can't wait to see what Randy Hultgren, who's a Republican from Illinois, what his response is going to be. Let's watch.
I think clearly the evidence, let me say this, you know, I get back to the stimulus, which was another thing that was said that was going to be kept.
We want the tax cuts.
Where's the evidence?
Yeah,
To prove
for 9 years.
That's the question.
Good question. Let's ask the president. Let's keep going. We got 3 more minutes. I'll get an answer to you.
You got no answer.
No, to the group.
I love that. Absolutely stumped. They say, hey, over the last 9 years, we've had your Bush tax cuts. And where are the jobs? Where do you have any evidence that they created jobs? In fact, over the last 10 years, we've lost 1 million jobs through those tax cuts, okay? Now, look, you can say it's not the tax cuts' fault, but you can't claim that the tax cuts led to more jobs, because they didn't. They led to us losing 1 million jobs. Since he doesn't have an answer, he's like, well, let me tell you about the stimulus. And then the crowd's like, no. We didn't ask you about the stimulus. What about the tax cuts? He's like, all right, great. Next question. That's called stone cold busted. That's what that is. I love it. These town halls are getting fun. One last story for you. Carl Lewis is running for office in New Jersey. He's going to run as a Democrat. You remember, of course, he's an Olympic gold medal winner. I think he's won approximately 312 gold medals. And, of course, he's well known. And so when you're better known, it's a little easier. And, you know, he's looks like he's going to win in the Democratic primaries. But some are questioning whether he's actually from the state. Now, he has excellent evidence that he's had a home there for a long time. He's also lived in California a while. So there's some questions about that. And Republicans have been asking questions. Well, Jennifer Delaney is the wife of New Jersey Assemblyman Pat Delaney, and she had other questions. She got an email from Carl Lewis, and part of her rant was against, hey, do you really live here, et cetera. But then this part of the rant, seemed to give her true intentions. Quote, imagine having dark skin and name recognition and the nerve to think that equaled knowing something about politics. Oops. Now, that's not good. So what has Pat Delaney done, the husband of the woman who sent that? He resigned. He said, look, I really disagree with my wife, and in fact, we're having marital trouble over this now, but in order to keep my family out of the spotlight here, I got to step down because I'm not even going to pretend that wasn't racist. Okay, he said that was a message that should not have been sent out, obviously on a racial issue, and I'm not making any excuses for it, which, you got to commend to some degree. And it's surprising coming from a Republican, but that email was horrendous. And I love that she bothered to put in her other complaints when, come on, you can see where she was really going here.
For it to happen like this, it kind of seems like, I don't know what kind of woman she was. Obviously, we don't know her. But it seemed like that was kind of like a last straw. He's like, I can't take this anymore. You know what? You've been, like, whoever knows whatever else she's been doing, but it seems like she drives him crazy. He's like, I got to go and take care of this because I'm about to, lose my mind. I have to step down, whatever, and see how you ruin. I don't know if he's blaming her for it. Sounds like it. I mean, it's obvious. But, it sounds like he does want to get rid of it, but he needs to get rid of this pariah in his life.
No, I hear you, Jay. And obviously, we don't know the internal workings of their family, right? And so it might be that he's throwing his wife under the bus. Who knows, right? I mean, I don't think so from reading the rest of the story. But if it is like it reads, he went as far as saying, my wife and I don't have the same racial views. Okay, so, and he says, look, can't worry about my kids. So in some crazy way, I almost feel sorry for him. The wife, I don't feel sorry for her at all. I mean, she's got it coming, but he paid the price. It's a fascinating turn of events.
I don't know. It also kind of, I always think there's the welfare lines and there's the lines about, black folks get all these advantages over everyone else in the country that some people think. Right. And I always think it's just a line. She really believes this. To write it to the guy and say, you're already black in America. You already got this name recognition. I can't believe how many more advantages you want. What's wrong with you?
What
world are you living in?
Yeah, that's the best part because they really have convinced themselves of this. I mean, she's not a political figure. She is saying it because she's angry. She's like, look at all the breaks that black people in this country get. They're so privileged. Look, we've done a million stories on the Young Turks. Like this story about if you have a black name on your resume, you're twice as likely not to get hired. And it's the same exact resume. Guys trying to sell, products on eBay. If it's a black hand as opposed to a white hand, people pay less for it. Same exact product. But in this woman's mind, and in a lot of people's minds, black people, they get all the breaks, right? That's the sad reality of what some people in this country think, and it ain't even close to true. All right, we got to do the next hour. Come right back. All right, back on the Young Turks. Cenk and Anna with you. Go!
Governor Tom Corbett from Pennsylvania recently cut $900 million off public school funding. So public schools throughout Pennsylvania are in shambles. They're trying to find ways to close the budget gaps. So there are actually a couple schools in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, that have decided to find creative ways to cut these budget gaps. And what they're doing is they're using sheep to maintain their grass rather than buying lawnmowers and paying people to cut the lawn.
That's awesome. First of all, how cool would it be to go to a school where there's just sheep hanging out in the grass? I think that'd be kind of badass. Plus, they're saving $15,000.
That's it, $15,000.
Okay, come on. Look, originally Corbett wanted to cut education by $1.2 billion, but he could only get $900 million. So they were doing the comical things like having sheep roam the yards to save 15 grand. I mean, it's absurd, right? But you got to say, hey, look, Pennsylvania, what can they do? There's no other way. They don't have any money. What can they do, right? Anna, there's no other way, right?
Yeah, except you can do something very, very easy and tax the oil companies.
Oh, we can't do that. No, not the oil and gas companies. But they got to be, look, if they're getting gas, natural gas, for example, out of Pennsylvania, obviously they pay some sort of royalties to the people of Pennsylvania, right?
Pennsylvania is the only state in the U.S. that does not pay a severance tax for drilling for natural gas.
Only state.
The only state. There are 15 states currently in the United States that drill for natural gas, and every single state except for Pennsylvania has a tax, okay?
Which makes sense. It's the natural gas of the people of Pennsylvania. By the way, Sarah Palin had an 80% approval rating. Part of the reason that she was picked by McCain to be her vice presidential candidate back in Alaska. Why? Because she doubled the amount that she was charging the oil companies and basically increased the amount that the taxpayers in Alaska got back from the oil companies from around $1,000 to $2,000 a family. That's why she was enormously popular, because of something that other Republicans would probably call socialist, right? Now, Corbett's going in the absolute opposite direction. Now, gee, I wonder why he, in the middle of a budget crunch where he's got to cut education and everything, and why he wouldn't take money from the gas companies like everybody else does.
He's just as crooked as any other politician that you find, representing certain districts or whatever. So just to give you an idea of how much money Pennsylvania could make just by taxing those that drill for natural gas, it turns out that taxing companies that use fracking could increase the revenue in Pennsylvania by $400 million, and that's annually.
Now, let me tell you what a great investment buying a politician is, because those gas companies contributed to Corbett to the tune of $835,000, okay? For $835,000, they got a $400 million return. Not bad. And that's why our politicians get bought, and that's why you're going to have sheep eating your grass at your local high school, because crooked politicians like Tom Corbett think, hey, man, as long as I get paid and I get elected, sure, I'll give away hundreds of millions of dollars and I'll just cut your kids' education to pay for it. JR.
Can I predict the next story out of this school?
Yeah.
Senior prank next year. There's going to be a sheep running through that school.
Well, there already is a sheep. Senior pranks from Tom Corbett. By the way, they don't have to pay for the sheep because it's the principal's sheep. He brought it in from his farm or something.
Free sheep, and they have 7 of them. They're called Romney sheep, by the way.
Oh, really? We might need a lot more Romney sheep, ironically, if Romney gets elected.
By the way, what's fascinating is there are hills and everything, obviously there are hills, in downtown Los Angeles that have sheep that the government used to maintain the grass.
Oh, really?
And they also do the same thing in San Diego. And they do that because they want to keep control of the grass, so when you have dry seasons, it prevents, like, wildfires.
Right. They also do that in Uruguay and Mongolia. But, yeah, we're in great shape. Okay.
I love that story.
Okay.
All right. College drinking. This story is almost obvious, but it's fascinating because administrators from several different universities want to find a way to stop college students from drinking as much as they do. Okay, we recently did a story about the University of South Carolina and how they are trying to get their college students to stop drinking. There were 6 cases where students drank too much and they were unconscious in 1 week alone. Okay, yeah. So what are they doing? It turns out that researchers are trying to expose students to the type of effects that over-drinking has on your body, right? So they're telling them explicitly, like, if you drink too much, it will do this to your liver. If you drink too much, it will do this to your brain immediately. If you drink too much, it has negative consequences. And what happens when students are told what the effects are? They drink more.
I love this story. Okay, and by the way, that's not the obvious part, but there are so many other obvious parts to this research. One of the things that they do is, like, they gave the college students breathalyzers, and they're like, now you see all the dangers, right? Now you can test your own breath to see how drunk you are. As soon as they did that, they drank so much more.
No, but
of course, that's what I would have done in college. I might do it now. I'd be like, cool, a breathalyzer. Let's see how high we can get it. Of course, right? And then the researchers also found out that it turns out they call alcohol sometimes liquid courage. And that the kids like it because it gets rid of their inhibition and they could hook up easier. Really?
But that's
I didn't know that. Did anybody else know that? That's crazy.
I know.
And that's for the guys to gather up the courage. And then the girls sometimes use it as an excuse to hook up. So later they can say, oh, I'm not a slut. I just drunk. What could I do? Golly gee Willikers, I'm really glad they did this research.
You know how it is to have sober girls around you. They be acting like they're drunk. Just kidding.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yes.
I want to bring up a point that our friend gave. This great point that our friend made. He said, first, when you want to hook up with a girl, it's what you got to do. First, you liquor yourself up. Then you liquor her up. Right?
Now, this guy's awesome. He's like, look, the key to hooking up with any girl is obviously alcohol. Everybody knows this, right? Mm-hmm. Now, sure, you should try to do it without alcohol, too. But he says, even if she doesn't want to drink, and this is wrong, and I denounce and reject it, he says, just get her a drink and have her hold it.
Really?
Yeah. And he's like, and he's done this before. He's like, oh, yeah, just hold it. I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'll come back later for it. What
because
does she do?
She can't help herself. She
because
does a little
everybody's
sippy
having
sip.
fun. It's a party atmosphere, and so she drinks it. Then you pour some drinks on top of her head. Next thing you know, you're back at that point.
Oh my God.
Okay. It ain't right. Okay. But I'm just saying, I'm keeping it real. That's what happens. Now, other fun parts of this study. They say that kids who wear costumes, like on Halloween, for example, drink more.
Of course.
Of course. Okay. One, they're having fun. Number two, they say specifically in celebratory times, it turns out the college students drink more. Golly gee Willikers. Wow, these are the top researchers in the country, right? So Halloween, then, of course, the combination of the two. They're in costumes and they're celebrating. Oh, forget about it, which is, by the way, totally true. Mm-hmm. Halloween, the greatest day of the year. Second of all, they also discovered that if you make the drinks like green, for example, on St. Patrick's Day,
they're likely to drink more.
They drink more. Third of all, apparently they drink more under all circumstances. Yes. Every result is they drink more, right? But they're like, if it's green beer, they're like, come on, that's not really beer. Oh, breathalyzer. Oh, good girls. Yeah, it's college. Look into it. So, by the way, this story made me miss college so much. And I didn't even drink until really late in college, right? Mm-hmm. But still, the whole thing was fun. And then last year, this is my senior year when I was drinking, liquor yourself up first, then liquor them up. It was, come on, who doesn't want to go back to those times?
All right. Joey Vento, who is the owner of a famous Philly cheesecake. I'm thinking about cheesecake.
Yeah, gee, I wonder what's on Anna's one.
Okay. Joey Vento, the owner of a famous Philly cheesesteak stand in Philadelphia, died of a heart attack. The reason why this story is relevant is because he became famous back in 2006 when he posted a sign in his restaurant that said, "This is America. When ordering, please speak English."
You know, it's interesting because I got a soft spot in my heart for these guys. You might think, why? I mean, that's an obnoxious sign. It's certainly not a lib sign, right? He's an old Italian from South Street in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. And his dad started a cheesesteak place back in the 1940s. He started Gino's in 1966. Mm-hmm. Gino's, if you ever lived in Philadelphia, and I did when I went to school, and Pat's are, legends. And it's like, it's the old Italian neighborhood, which isn't very Italian anymore, and that's what part of why he's frustrated. And so, like, if he was a younger guy and he, and he's being massively obnoxious, etc., or discriminatory, it's still not right. But you got to understand the atmosphere of Philadelphia, where everybody's rude to each other. Mm-hmm. So I'm picturing this guy.
So it's okay, you're right.
Yeah, no, I know, but I'm gonna get to the story. So I'm picturing this guy being like, why don't they speak English? like the Italian immigrants when they first came in, they had perfect English, right? Mm-hmm. But there's something about him that I feel like, come on, you old guy, get used to the fact that there's Latinos and Asians all around you now. And there's, of course, it's unfortunate but funny that he died from a heart attack and he sells cheesesteaks. But anyway, in Philadelphia, there's also, the discrimination goes always, okay? There were black-owned cheesesteak places, in the old days, it doesn't exist anymore, but on Penn's campus in West Philadelphia, there was Billy Bob's. And they didn't mess around either. They didn't care about what language you spoke. They only cared about, what do you want? chicken or cheesesteak, right? And if you came in with nonsense, they wouldn't have any of it. They used to have an iron bar, a lead bar, underneath the grill.
Oh my God.
And
I
you
don't
think-
even want to know where this story is headed.
And you think like, oh, that's stuff of legend. They're not going to use that. We saw them use it on people. Okay.
What do you mean? What would they do with the iron bar?
Well, now, to be fair, okay, what would they do with it? They would kick the shit out of somebody, okay?
But that's illegal.
Okay, this is, oh my God, that's illegal. Anyway, so this is West Philly. Now, the time that we witnessed it, look, the guys had it coming. So some drunk kids came and threw beer on their grill after a disagreement, right? Now, the disagreements happen often. That was partly because of the incredibly rude behavior of the owners, right?
This place sounds horrible, by the way.
Anyway,
God.
when the kid threw the beer on the grill, the guys jumped up and then they started pounding him, and then the cops came, and the kids were running around the cop car, and finally the cops grabbed him, right? And then the owner, like, I don't know if they're the owners, but the guys who were at the grill are running around punching the kid in the head. Like they'd run, punch the kid in the head, run around the cop car, and punch him in the head again. Okay.
I'm not amused by that story.
Okay, hold up. This is Philly. We're having fun. Okay, so one of our friends comes in, and we're like, this is a guy who's got questionable judgment. We're like, please, when they say cheese or chicken steak, you say cheese or chicken. That's it, right? Well, he goes up. Of course, he doesn't listen. He comes. He's like, excuse me, do you have dolphin-free tuna? Okay, and I see them reaching under the grill. I'm like, no, he meant cheesesteak. Cheesesteak, move along. Then he comes back, and now they got, this is the drinks they have. They have water, they have Coke, you know, in the fridge. They have 40s, okay? It's West Philly, okay? We're not playing around, right? It's actually like partly off campus. It's, okay. He comes back and he's like, do you have any wine coolers? Okay, so you see what I mean? Like, Philly's different. You know, you got the Italian guy putting up the sign, why don't you speak English? And you got the guys with the lead bars underneath the grill. It's part of the charm of Philly.
Oh, first, that's not charming in the least bit. And that story made me dislike Philly a little bit and like your friend. Your friend is hilarious. Who asks for dolphin-free tuna? He's the best guy.
Billy Bob's in Philly. Only he does. It's not, and by the way, he doesn't even mean it. He's just awkward. He doesn't know. We're like, please move down the line. I'm begging you. Anyway, all right, that's a fun Philly story.
Excellent story. Match.com has agreed to screen for sexual predators on their dating site, and they decided to do this after Carol Markin took them to court. Now, when she took them to court, she wasn't seeking any damages. She just wanted Match.com to sign an agreement that they would screen for sexual predators, and they have begun doing that now.
Okay.
So if you are looking for a lover on Match.com, just know that there won't be any sexual predators on there.
/ there won't be anyone on there. So you probably want to go to a different site. Okay, now here's the situation. This is actually a really good story because when she found out that the guy who had sexually assaulted her was actually going to be tried, she stopped suing for money, which I love. So that's why I'm a big fan of this story. She kept suing, but making sure that she didn't want anybody to experience what she experienced. But she didn't want any money from Match.com. She just wanted action. And then partly because of the pressure of that lawsuit, Match.com did take action. So, so it all worked out in the end. And so
it did. You know, when we originally did this story, I got on her a little bit because she had met this man on Match.com and he sexually assaulted her in her own home. And I remember thinking to myself, look, it's not really Match.com's responsibility to screen every single person. You know, it's a dating site. You know, you have the ability to look at someone's background. You have the ability to Google someone. You'll easily find whether or not they're registered on a sexual offender list or anything like that. But, you know, I like the fact that now there's this extra level of security. Match.com says they don't have a problem doing it, so let them do it. Why not? It's just a great way to protect citizens that use that service.
All right, my bad on two things. One, for a second there, I had a brain fart and thought it was MySpace.com. That's why I said there's nobody on there. Actually, Match.com, has like a gazillion people on there, right? So I was like, oh yeah, you're screening for predators. Who are you screening? You don't have anybody on the site, right? But in Match.com actually has a ton of people. But my second bad is more substantive. When we did that story initially, exactly, and I was on your side, and I thought suing, I don't know, you know. But it turns out like, here's the upside of lawsuits. It turns out that action was not as hard as we thought it was, and that Match.com could do it, and they did, and they're screening out sexual predators now. And obviously that's generally a good thing, and the lawsuit led to that. So everybody won. So I suppose we should say something along the lines of,
Oh my God, I am totally sorry for that.
all right, there you go, Young Turks.